Thank you. I have 26 seconds still left.
You do, but
Please vote no. Vote no. Vote no. Vote no. I love the Lord. And kill the bill.
Aloha, that was a hard act to follow. My name is PM Azinga. My number is 5085, and I stand against SB1. Hawaii ponoi, nanai komoi, kalani ali'i, keali'i, mauku alani e kamea mea e na kawai pole me kai e. Repeat. Mauku alani e kamea mea e ma kawai pole me kai e. Standing against SB1.
Thanks very much. Next. It's different anyway. It's different anyway.
My name is Min Xian. My number is 4892. I'm so thankful then I can stand here today to oppose SB1. I am a Chinese. I'm new to Hawaii. I only moved here 6 years. I become a citizen in July this year. No, actually it's January this year. So, yeah, I'm new. I think nobody knew than me here, right? Yes. Why I'm here? Because I am a daughter. I am a mother. I am a wife. I bring my daughter here because she wants to know what happened. What happened to this bill? For my English is not good, so I cannot tell her what happened. I bring her to here, so she know she will be turned 12 and this month 10. November 10 is her birthday. She is almost teenager. She need to know what happened on this island because we love this island. We love here. Yes. And always in the parents, we want to give the good thing to our children. What is good? We told them what is good. I want to stand here. I am really afraid I cannot say everything. Because for Chinese, I don't know who is gay in China before. But now here, yeah, many. But I cannot say anything for this. Because American, many things is good, but something she need to know what is good, what's bad. So I think please say no to SB1. Thank you.
Shay, next. Go ahead.
My name is Yao Tat Jackie Shen, and my number is 4843. By testify in opposition to the SB1, I submitted a written testimony, but I have an improved version. I want to speak on behalf of some of the immigrant families who came to Hawaii from Hong Kong and also from China to pursue the dream for democracy and who treasure strong family values and principles demonstrated in the state. I want to give you two illustrations that you will not forget. Peking duck and roast suckling pigs. Peking duck is also called stuffed Peking duck. okay, because duck farmers used funnels to feed down the throats to make sure ducks grow big in a shortened period of time. They will then be slaughtered and roasted. This is not natural and not humane. Sadly, against our will, many political leaders are also forcing the majority of the people in Hawaii to accept the same-sex marriage bill in an extraordinarily short period of time. Now, roast suckling pigs are not just roast pigs. They are piglets still feeding on its mother's milk. Suckling pigs are slaughtered between the ages of 2 to 6 weeks. Now, indoctrinated with values, ideas, practices contrary to the parents, while the law protects the children from many controversial behaviors and practices such as no smoking, no alcohol until a certain age. SB1 is doing exactly the opposite. It aggressively rips parents of their natural and legal rights to protect and guide the children with traditional values and are proven to be safe, and replaces it with indoctrination of an extremely aggressive same-sex lifestyle curriculum. Where no Peking ducks, our children are no suckling pigs. We will not allow a controversial bill to be railroaded that will crash.
Thank you very much. Next.
My name is Jane Shiroma. My number is 4860. I oppose SB1. Someone wrote in the papers, the Constitution is the highest law, but not God's word. I have questions. Why is it that we have more knowledge than ever before and more educated people with high degrees, but our country is in a bad shape? Is having a great deal of knowledge enough? It doesn't appear to be so. Man can reason with all the knowledge that differ from person to person. What is the rule of law that helped our founding fathers to use knowledge effectively in unity? Our forefathers must have had something more than knowledge in order to write up such a great constitution, which is full of wisdom, for it made our country great. There must have been wisdom as to how the knowledge is to be used, for it brought unity among them and amongst our country in spite of difficulties we faced throughout history. What is the motto of America? Isn't it all on our coins and dollar bills to remind us? Why did our forefathers choose "In God We Trust" as our motto? Why? Because they knew that that is where wisdom comes from. Many churches work quietly helping prisoners, drug users, alcoholics, homeless, even those with same-sex tendency. If I had a child with this tendency, I would want him to be healed like the young man who spoke a few nights ago of his healing of wrong choice. Do not underestimate the wisdom of the majority. We may not speak with fancy language, and some people have that I've talked to who do not go to church have the heart-led moral wisdom. Do not be deceived by the force that divides us. Are we being led into dictatorship? Let the people vote. That is our constitutional right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Genevieve Green. My number is 4859. I'm born and raised in Oahu, a registered voter, a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. And I'm strongly opposed to SB1. I have a homosexual friend that I used to have lunches with every day for years, and we never had any problems because we never talked about our behaviors, but we just respected each other as friends. I'm here actually to speak for my great-grandchildren who I don't want to have being indoctrinated into the lifestyle of the homosexuals. And I'm also opposed to the rush and the cost to the taxpayers. This past Monday, October 28th, upstairs at the Capitol, thousands voiced their "Let the people vote." Hundreds continue to chant "Let the people vote." on Halloween night. The voice of thousands are more accurate and justifiable than the vote of 77 of you legislators. Aren't the voices resounding in your head? I want to speak to your heart. Do you hear the majority of the people opposing this SB1? Please honor and respect our voices. I'm here to speak my voice, and I want you to hear my voice. Please respect us. A yes vote is clearly, on your part, is clearly a no vote in democracy. Thank you for your time, and I'm just wondering, if this bill passes, what will happen to our Mrs. Hawaii contest? There will be changes. I speak to you again.
Good evening. My name is Fern Dalton. My number is 5153. I just want to start off by saying I love gay people. I have plenty of family and friends that are gay, but unlike some of these people here today, I mean what I say, and my actions prove this. I'm straight. I have a boyfriend. We've been together for 8 years. I cannot imagine denying anyone happiness, or in some cases, misery of getting married. Everyone has the right to love who they want. I hear a lot of talk about religion, but whose religion? The census in 2000 only has Christianity at 29%. 51% of respondents say they have no religious affiliation at all. There is a good reason that the separation of church and state is inherent in the First Amendment. It does not belong in government. It is not representative of everyone. I also have heard a lot about the children. And what scares me most is having my children, my future children, my family members' children grow up in a world where there is intolerance and hatred just because you don't like what somebody does. It's not right now. It wasn't right with Brown versus the Board of Education. It wasn't right with Loving versus Virginia. And it wasn't right with Romney versus Evans. Please do not let the fear-mongering and the slippery slope arguments about bestiality, pedophilia, and God knows what else that came spewing out of these past 3 days of testimony influence you. There's no room for fear. There's only room for love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up.
My former manager. My name is Belinda Jacobs from the Christian Counseling and Research Centers of America, and I'd like to present some research on this issue. My number is 4858. This issue, actually nationwide, has been put under the guise of civil rights versus, and there seems to be a misnomer between civil rights and equal justice. There is no scientific proof that a gay or lesbian person is gay or lesbian. It's actually an association, like choosing a Buddhist temple versus a Catholic church. And people, I work with gay, lesbian, bisexual, and they do convert and go straight. I have one man, the abuse is so extreme, but when he comes into church, he cries his eyes out. Anyway, I'm going to present decades of research on the optimal child rearing. This comes out of Geneva, Switzerland, and you can read it in an article under Gender Complementary and Child Rearing. And you're welcome to the article. Anyway, if we want to know which way our country's going or this state will go, let's look at Massachusetts, which is a train wreck for the homosexual community, unfortunately. 30% increase in HIV and AIDS amongst the homosexuals from 2000 to 2009, although there is a downward general trend for the general population. Hey, this is saying the truth. It's facts and figures, no religious bias. The porn industry does not have these alarming numbers. Large portions, 5.5 budget item, gay domestic violence programs. What's going on in Massachusetts? Would you like to raise your child under this scenario? Anyway, first-time blood donor, 60 times more likely to have HIV in the blood than the general population. 800 times more likely than first-time blood donors. 8,000 times more likely than repeat donors. Okay, that's why they may not give blood. My daddy's name is donor. Famous research. This is landmark fundamental research. Sperm donor children do not fare as well as even adoptive children. So there's new strains of HIV apparently. If you are doing a just society, you are going to protect the people
Thank
of
you very
Hawaii.
much. Next, please.
You are going to protect the children
Next,
of
please.
Hawaii. Thank you. Including the homosexual community in Hawaii.
I'm sorry.
My English is not so good. Later on, my friend help me.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Could you?
My English is not so good. Later, my friend help me. Can.
Okay, sure.
Thank
Go ahead.
you. I tell my name first.
Yep.
My name is Cindy. My number is 4846.
The house and children. Marriage is a main way to generate life, one generation by one generation. This is our Chinese culture, standing there for more than 5,000 years. Same-sex lifestyle is a personal choice and not forced the general public to accept. Passing of SB1 will increase government spending on HIV and AIDS management, as male-to-male sex is an extremely high-risk factor for HIV/AIDS. According to 2011 Massachusetts statewide behavior risk factor surveys conducted by the Department of Health, revealed 53% of gay and bisexual male reported 2 and more sex partners in the past year, compared to only 17% of heterosexual male reported so. Traditional marriage is an exclusive commitment between one man and one woman. However, from the survey data, we can clearly see that even after legalizing same-sex marriage for almost a decade in the state of Massachusetts, it does not bring a better exclusive commitment between the gay couples. More than half of the gay, bisexual male have 2 or more long-term sexual partners. This is part of the reason why they are at such high risk of contacting and spreading HIV. Therefore, traditional marriage is superior to gay marriage. There is no equity at all. I urge you to vote on SB1. I plead to you to stand strong to defend traditional marriage for us and for our next generation to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Shay. Next.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Jo. My number is 4847. I'm from China. I'm daughter, wife, and mother. I believe marriage is one man and one woman. I strongly oppose for same-sex marriage. I stand for the next generation. 2 men and 2 women cannot produce generation to come. A family with one mother and one father means so much to me and my children. We come here not only for ourselves, we come here for our Kiki and for our Kiki's Kiki, for all our next generation. I ask all of you, please, please, please say no to SB1. Let the people decide. Thank you. I still have time. I like other sister. I just wonder, I can use my time, yeah? Okay. Please say no to SB1. Please, please, please say no to SB1. Please, please, please say no to SB1. Please
I'm sorry.
say no
Please
to
don't say that for another 30
SB1.
seconds.
Because my English is not very good. It's the only words I can speak very well. Please say no to SB1. Please say no to SB1. SB1.
Okay, but I want the
Please
audience to be
say
quiet.
no to
She can stand there all she
SB1.
wants.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. We have a couple more. I think there are 3 more people that are before 4,600. If you could come up. Anybody below 4,600?
Yeah, so if you can.
Chair, are we going to get to ask any questions? That was a really interesting group.
We'll ask him on just a second.
Okay.
So anyone with a number below 4,600? Looks like there's a bunch of them. Four, all right. Yeah, okay.
Number 4511. My name is Marvin Dryden. I'll skip the thank yous in the interest of time. As a Pearl Harbor defense contractor, I take my job very seriously, which is to keep America safe from external threats. I am here today to try to keep America and Hawaii safe from internal threats. And not the other way around. God is the boss, not us. His word speaks clearly, not against homosexual sinners, but against homosexual sin. There's a big difference. Do not allow the twisting of words to confuse this crucial difference. I recall times in my childhood when my parents would confront me for doing something wrong. And my first response was usually, "Why do you hate me?" I would use this twisting of words to try and get my way. Although it may be true that there are legal issues with the redefining of marriage as it relates to the violation of our religious rights, the much bigger issue of which we ought to be concerned is our efforts to normalize something that God never intended from the beginning of His creation for man and woman to be fruitful and multiply, and something that God Himself says is an abomination of His will. You may think you are elevating couples by passing this bill, but this bill encourages and deepens the sin. Satan loves it, while Jesus weeps. Who will you serve? Whose side are you on? Elected officials, your decision has serious consequences.
Thank you
This
very
is
much.
not about human
Next, please.
desires. I pray that you will not reject God's desire
Next,
for
please.
mankind. Thank you.
Aloha. My name is Nicole West, and my number is 4549. I am your common voting citizen who, in 1998, along with most of the voting populace, said yes to the question, shall the Constitution of the State of Hawaii be amended to specify that the legislature shall have the power to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples? How now does the legislature take this question to mean the exact opposite? Did you know then what you were voting for? I thought it was clear what I was voting on, and I see now that something so seemingly spelled out has been twisted for an alternate agenda. I feel duped. You may or may not have been in office back then for that deceitful piece of legislation, but you are here now. Take the time needed to make this bill fair and understandable, because we can all see that there are questions that even the experts can't answer. I just want to know, are the thousands of us who have been here to testify over this week just a technicality so that you can all go through the motions of passing a bill? Or are you truly listening to those you are here to represent? We knocked on many doors yesterday, and only one representative said he would change his vote because of his constituents. I urge all of you, let your vote show us that you are the voice that we have entrusted you to be, and not the voice of political pressures you are feeling from your peers, leaders, and power heads. A measure so drastic as this needs to be appropriately examined, thoroughly thought out, and meticulously written. Be your namesake. Represent the people in opposition to this bill as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Kelike Castillo, and my number is 4550.
Thank you.
I'm 32 years old. I was born and raised in Hawaii. I am a native Hawaiian. I am opposed to this bill. This bill does not protect the rights of individuals who are not clergymen, and it does not protect families within the public school system who have moral objections to the teaching of homosexual practices, and it does not protect adopted children from non-blood related marriages with their adopted parents. Every Tuesday night for the past 2 years, my husband and I have been feeding the homeless in Waikiki through our ministry. 99.9% of donations to our ministry go to feeding the homeless in Waikiki and providing services to the poorest of the poor in this country and abroad. Today, I am speaking on behalf of the poor. It is the poor who will have to deal with the ill effects of this bill. When the DOE begins to make rulings like those preventing parents from removing children from classes over offensive material, as they did in the state of California, it is the poor who cannot afford homeschool or private education. Not an option for many families in Hawaii who can barely afford to live here as is. Please vote no on SB1 and protect the rights of the poor and increasingly disenfranchised opposed to SB1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening, honorable legislators. My number is 4510. I'm Janelle Dryden and have served in campus ministry at UH for over 25 years. I'm trained in Stephen Ministry, which specializes in listening. I'm originally from the beautiful farm country of North Iowa. When I go back to visit, I love to walk into stores and see Bible verses carved in the fronts of the desks of businesses. And they take God seriously. That's Lutheran country back there. A few days ago, retired Judge Levinson testified that Hawaii should join Iowa and legalize same-sex marriage. I wish he could have heard the desperate pleas from my Christian family members to please pray for Iowa when this deceitful process went down. What the judge failed to include in his report was that the good people of Iowa were not given a voice in this matter. Instead, it went through the court system. 3 Supreme Court judges approved it. All 3 were voted off the bench at the very next judicial retention election. Iowans were and are angry. They had trusted their leaders. Now Iowans are dealing with a quagmire of rules that kowtow to the GLBT community. And last week, my brother-in-law had to put a sign on the bathrooms stating that members of this community are allowed to use whichever bathroom they feel most comfortable in. My sister has told him that if she ever sees a head or a mirror looking at her from underneath the divider, that person's going to get a foot in the face. I don't blame her. She's angry. Can you hear it? Betrayal is something Iowans will be bitter about for a long time, and I've seen those same feelings of betrayal here. Please vote against SB1.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, members, any questions for this last group of testifiers?
Mr. Chair.
Representative Thielen, followed by McDermott.
If the first testifier could come back up, I believe you're standing against the wall over there. Thank you.
I think that's number 2 or 3, but you're pointing at me, so I assume
I believe, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Damian Larnert, 4426.
I believe you said you were a Christian and in support of the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to, I happen to have been baptized and confirmed as an Episcopalian. I'm not active in the church now, but I understand the Episcopal Church supports same-sex marriage.
That's why I understand,
I
too.
just wanted to ask if you don't mind telling me what your faith is.
Yeah, not at all. So I'm Christian, and we attend the First Unitarian Church of Honolulu.
Okay.
My wife and 2 daughters.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, I appreciated your testimony. It was very compelling, and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Representative McDermott.
Mr. Chair, I've got about 6 different folks I'd like to ask questions to. So after I do the first one, I'll yield back to you so you can get other folks. And
Good
then,
plan. Thank you.
Okay. The African American service member who was from Florida, lady. Yeah, you. I'm sorry I didn't write your name down. Thank you so very much for waiting.
Thank you.
We've heard repeatedly over the weekend that this behavior is the exact same thing as black-white discrimination in the South. It's the exact same thing. There's no difference. Yet I see you before me and you say,
But I do have a choice to be bisexual or gay or all of those things, but I don't have a choice to be black.
in fact, if you would, let's reverse 40 years ago, if you'd walk into a lunch counter in Birmingham, you would have suffered discrimination immediately because of your skin color. But if you would have walked in a Caucasian male, they'd have no idea of your private sexual behavior, nor would they care, correct?
Correct, because what you do in private, people don't need to really know about, because you're doing that in private.
So a private behavior is different than a benign genetic trait. A private behavior is different than a
Private
benign
behavior is different, yes.
because it's a behavior, not a genetic trait.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, members, other members' questions? Vice Chair Haar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I please have Mr. Michael Ward up? Good evening, Mr. Ward. Thank you for being with us on this late hour on a Saturday evening.
Thank you.
Okay, you said
Pleasure
you're-
to be here.
Thank you. You said you're from New Hope Christian College?
I am.
Okay, could you just give me some of your background in terms of your education? Because I need to understand. There's just been a lot of talk, and I need to understand what your background is.
Okay. I have 3 master's degrees. I have a master's in immunohematology, which is blood banking. I served as the chief of the Air Force Blood Program and the head of the Department of Defense Blood Program, 30 years in the military. I have a master's in strategic resource planning. I also have a very bad cold, so forgive the pauses to swallow here. I also have a master's in transformational leadership from Bethel Seminary.
So you have a background in theology?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I went to seminary.
Okay. Mr. Ward, I don't know if you heard earlier, there's been a lot of talk about the Bible and all the hypocrisy in the Bible and how Solomon had 7,000 wives and all that. I mean, I don't even know what that was. But I'm just asking you, as someone with a background in theology, can you please, because there was a lot of exchange going back and forth about Deuteronomy and the hypocrisy in the Bible and all of that. And, quite frankly, I don't really want to go there, but I just feel that with someone with your background who actually has a master's, could you just kind of give us some insight? Because there was a lot of discussion over it, and I just kind of want to clarify that.
Sure, absolutely. The Bible is more than just a theology book. It's a history of its people. And simply because it documents a practice does not mean that it advocates that practice. In fact, there are many stories in the Bible that are forbidden by God. And just because it says that this happened didn't mean it was his choice. So we have a number of instances, the number of wives that Solomon had, that was never God's intent. And that was clarified in the New Testament.
But oftentimes from opponents, I hear things like, well, homosexuality is wrong. The Bible says it's wrong. So how do you reconcile that with what you've just explained?
Well, that's a whole different issue. There are a number of clear moral guidelines that the Bible points out. There are a number of scriptures that talk about things that God abhors. And homosexuality is mentioned in a number of scriptures, not just in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament as well. Now, I do want to say this. There are many sins, and everyone in this room has committed a sin. Just because they've committed a sin doesn't mean that they're going to hell. The difference is the sin confessed? The primary issue that I have as a Christian minister is not sin, because I have sinned. The issue is that through Christ, I have forgiveness of my sin. But forgiveness has to be confessed and repented of.
Okay.
I mean, the sin has to be confessed and repented.
We didn't actually receive your written testimony, and I did somewhat listen to your verbal testimony, but I'm still just trying to understand, why are you opposed to Senate Bill 1?
In a number of reasons. I'm opposed to it morally. Now, as I did say in my testimony, I am not opposed with giving the LGBT community all of those tax benefits. I'm happy to do that. In fact, if we could do it at the state level, I would be happy to provide it. My issue here is not the tax benefits. In terms of the coffers of the United States of America or the state of Hawaii, it is almost negligible. They enrolled in school. I'm also worried about the sliding of America into a moral abyss. There are lines that we should not cross. This is one of them. So my primary reason for sitting in that hall for 30 hours this week is for the 2 minutes to go on record. This issue is about the word marriage. That's the issue. It's not about the rights. It's about the codification of something that was never meant to be as marriage. I'll give them the monies they want. You know, I'll favor that.
Okay, Mr.
And we ought to write legislation, and that's what SB1 ought to do, is clarify that part of it, not redefine marriage for society.
Okay, so Mr. Ward, do you have issues with any of the religious exemptions in this bill?
I do. And the problem is the accommodations law. It's not just an issue for my church, and we have a Christian school where I worship as well. It's a problem with many of our parishioners. We have 5,000 people that attend my church. Many of them are Christian business persons. And if they're forced to violate their moral guidelines in conducting business, or they will be forced to shut down, that's an issue. We heard earlier from the minister from Kalihi Union Church. That was a powerful testimony about what's happened in Canada. This thing takes on a life of its own once it goes to the courts. You guys have got to make sure this is ironclad before you pass it. And after going through the Senate and the House, there is enough doubt any reasonable person would say, we are not ready.
Okay, so you have, I mean, besides the moral issues that you have with this bill, you still have an issue with
Absolutely. The accommodations issue that we've mentioned, the heritage issue, there are a number of problems that are problems with this bill.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ward.
Okay, unless someone else has a question, I'm going to go back to Representative McDermott.
Yes, could I have Ms. Jacobs, Belinda? Ms. Jacobs, you seem to be armed with a lot of facts with regards to HIV, AIDS, and stuff like that. Have you, because you quote the Center of Disease Control and the infections among men and who they are and all the rest, have you been called a hater or bigot just for repeating facts?
You know, I'm trained as a researcher, Bachelor of Science degree in physics from UCLA, and a master's. I'm started first year at HPU, and I'm a 4.0 student. But I'm also called into ministry. And the people that God gives me, actually, the Lord said, where I set my feet, I get that ground. So watch out. I'll see you guys in heaven. But what that is I operate in God's love. And I don't really get into any debates.
Just
So
real
I have
quickly,
favor with the person normally.
It's real quickly, just because of your utterances, have people called you names without
I've
knowing?
been called names. I have a brother.
Okay.
I mean, but as a big no, because I don't do numbers on people. I look and feed off of where they're at and what their needs are, and love promotes another person.
Are you? I've heard a couple terms, and there was no opportunity to bring it up. But I want to get some clarity on it. Are you familiar with the terms bug chaser or gift giver?
Sounds gross.
Couldn't you explain what those terms mean?
Okay, they're just colloquial terms.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, members, any other questions? Okay, if not, that's it for today. Oh, okay. Representative Foley.
I have a question for the auntie who was singing Hawaii Pono'i. If she just left like 2 seconds ago. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, there's an announcement. Don't worry, we're getting there. That's it for tonight. We will adjourn. We will recess until Monday morning at 11 a.m. Monday morning at 11 a.m., which I believe is I want to say the 4th, but let me be sure. I don't know. Does anybody know what Monday morning is? It's the 4th. Okay. 11 o'clock Monday morning the 4th in this room here, and we will be picking up with number 4600. 4600 will be the number. Thank you very much for your participation, and hopefully we'll see you on Monday. We're in recess.